What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. So I had a video before, but it got deleted. But we'll do another one. That's okay. So we're gonna start doing astrology series, and within this astrology series, we're gonna start off with Scorpio because I'm a sun sign Scorpio. So we're gonna start off with the water series, the water signs, and then the fire signs, the air signs, and then the earth signs. So today we're talking about Scorpio and their personal traits and attributes. So let's get to it. So Scorpios, first of all, Scorpio is ruled by the eighth house, and the eighth house has to do with death and rebirth. You know what I'm saying? That's the cycle. Rising from the ashes to the phoenix. Season wise, that is based on fixated part of autumn or fixated part of fall, and you have to realize that each house has its own energy signature form. It has its own modality. So being the eighth house, that has to do with things that are hidden, secrets, death and rebirth. That is the energy that Scorpio carries. They go through a lot of death and rebirth experiences in their life, um, whether for good or bad. Now, let's get into their personal traits. Now, Scorpios are people who are, so first of all, the energy is fixated water. Now, water has to do with emotions. Now, I mean, because every water signs has their different type of emotions. Cancers have a cardinal, they're cardinal signs. So they like to initiate emotions. They like to control the room. Scorpios are more fixated on their emotions, their personal situations and experiences. So they rather isolate themselves from other people and be amongst people that match their energy or their emotional stance on things. While Pisces are more mutable, and mutable has to do with more flexible. You know what I mean? It's mutable. It's like it's more fluid. You know what I mean? It's more flex. Yeah, flexible is the best word to say. Where it's like they can match other people's emotions at certain times and certain experiences just to keep everything balanced and more peaceful. So with Scorpios, they're fixated water. So they're like ice. So they're very ice cold from the outside looking in. If you don't know a Scorpio, you might think that all these people are very cold and distant. But that's just because that's just how they present themselves. But if you really get to be close, or a Scorpio actually allows you to come into their energy or their space, eventually they will allow you to melt their ice. You know what I'm saying? So I would say it's better to a Scorpio would match someone who is also very outgoing and down to earth or charismatic. But at the same time, you cannot be someone that is just out and about and have no like some of self control or some sort of like your own privacy towards yourself. Like Scorpios are attracted to people who have a mysterious energy and mysterious glow, and they like to unravel things. That is one thing Scorpios like. If you're a book that is easy to read, a Scorpio might entertain you for a little bit, but eventually they get tired. They like people who are very mysterious and intriguing. That makes them want more. Those are the type of people that they're attracted to. Um, so it being the eighth house or being the fixated part of autumn or fall, that has to do with going within, going within the unseen world. You know what I mean? A lot of Scorpios are mysterious in nature because they love mysteries. Those are the type of people that love to watch horror movies and mind or thriller movies or mind bending movies because Aquarius kind of also like mind bending movies because that's more logical, but they're like more of a, I would say not even mind bending. I would say more of like a shock towards the end of a movie where you didn't see it coming. It's like a twist and turn type of movie. Those are the type of movies they like, where people wouldn't expect this type of person to be, or this type of situation to be the outcome of a movie. That's what they like because it was so mysterious. It was not something that was expected. So if you're someone that is very predictable, then a Scorpio, yeah, they might entertain you for a bit, but they're not going to be. It's not going to be a long term type of thing. But at the same time, which is very contradictory, Scorpios do like people who are predictable because that makes them feel like they're not as vulnerable. Like that makes them feel less, not no, yeah, less vulnerable because they can predict you. But at the same time, they like a little mystery. They like to unravel you and observe you and your traits and things like that. So that's one thing about that. They also like certain type of energy forms like clothing. So they like to wear a lot of dark clothes, things that match their energy. things that are dark has to do with the unseen. So they like that also. They like to be unseen. They like to do their own thing in their little corner and whatever little group that they have. You know what I mean? They're not like Pisces, which is more mutable, which is like, they get along type of energy where it's like, okay, I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm still gonna, you know what I mean? Scorpios will do that, but at the same time, they love their peace or their energy. So they rather be around people or around emotions that also match their signature. You know what I'm saying? Because Scorpios are pretty upfront. They like to be straightforward. Um, what's another thing? Another thing is, yeah, like death and rebirth. So they like experiences that gives them some form of death and rebirth. So sometimes people might call them toxic in relationships in that in situations because they like to test people. So they might do certain things to see if this person will stay or not. You know what I mean? They might do certain things to see is this person a longevity type of person or not because they're fixated. So they're trying to see are you fixated on them? So they might do things that are cardinal, you know what I mean, more cancer like, but they're really fixated. So they might do things that are, abrupt or very shocking just to see your reaction. And that's just them trying to study you and see who you truly are. Are you someone that will really be a ride or die. See, I feel like a Scorpio came up with that sign with that word, with that phrase, a ride or die, because it's like I said, it's death and rebirth. So they're trying to see are you someone that's going to stick towards and be fixated on their emotions like they are, or are you someone that is just quick with your emotions and gone the next day, like more of like a cancer type of energy. So these are type of things that they like to observe. Scorpios love to watch movies that have to do with like horror movies because that has to do with eighth house energy. It's like mysterious and sometimes scary to other people. It has a lot of death scenes and killings and things like that. They like stuff like that. They also like maybe action because they're also ruled by Mars and co-ruled by Pluto. Pluto is like a dark energy, it's a dark force. You know what I'm saying? It's unseen, takes you to the underworld, but with some action, aka Mars with it. That's what they like. You know what I'm saying? So they're very passionate about unseen things. They're very passionate about unraveling things that has never been unraveled before. They also, what else? A job that Scorpios would do good in is like forensic um, detectives, people that go to crime scenes and try to discover what happened by testing DNA and things like that to see who was really the culprit of that crime. They also like what are other jobs? Jobs that have to do with like maybe like even working as spies and things like that. Like things that are mysterious. Those are the type of jobs that they'll do good in, or yeah, or even finances. People that take care of people's finances because the eighth house also has to do with that too. It has to do with energy connection, because a lot of people think, yeah, the eighth house is ruled by Pluto, so that's like in Mars, so that has to do with like that sexy, taboo underworld, sexy type of energy. But at the same time, sex is really just the exchanging of energy. That's what sex is. You can sexually be stimulated mentally and you can also be stimulated physically, but you're both sharing energy. It's when two energies come together as one and merge as one. That's what it's all about. So that's what Scorpios are all about. um so they also like to do that, so like accountants, things like that. That's a good jobs for Scorpios. Now in terms of relationships, they like to be they like to be in control, especially a Scorpio man. Females, they might be a little bit more kickback. They still like their own independence, but I feel like Scorpio men like to be in control because if they allow other people to be in control, they feel vulnerable. They feel like they feel weak because they like to be in control because they can predict what's going to happen. So they like to predict what other people are doing, but they don't like other people predicting them. You know what I'm saying? Because then they feel like they're exposed. Because the eighth house is the hidden, so they like to be hidden too. They don't like to be exposed, but they like to expose things that are outside of them. You know what I mean? But they don't like to expose things that are within them. So if they do expose things that are within them to you, then that's a Scorpio that really likes you because Scorpios don't just usually do that. Um, Another thing is in relationships, it might take time for a Scorpio to truly open based on each Scorpio. Everyone's different. Each Scorpio is different. I'm also going to start later on in the series talk about deacons because deacons within each sign is also very important. But we're going to just start basic and just talk about Scorpio. So They like to observe people and realize, okay, is this someone I can truly open myself towards? And once you give them those certain, they won't tell you, they'll just look for it for themselves. And once they see that, they'll realize, okay, this is someone I can trust. This is someone I can open up to. This is someone that I can allow to melt my ice, my fixated water that became an iceberg. But I'm gonna allow them to melt it because of their energy. So they're very also like, in terms of, let's say in terms of sex, because they're ruled by Pluto, so that's that sexual energy. I realize Scorpio men are different from Scorpio women. Scorpio men are more upfront with their sexual nature, while Scorpio women are not as upfront. They like to hide it because they're the feminine energy, so they're double hidden. You know what I'm saying? Like Scorpio men will show their sexual energy and their sexuality. Scorpio women will hold it, but they still have that energy. So if a Scorpio woman feels very comfortable around you, she will slowly start to show that side of her, but she will never show it straight away, because a lot of people think, oh, just because you're a Scorpio, you're sick. No, the guys will show it because they're more of like the sun energy, so they already like to show things. Women are more of the moon energy, so they're already hidden. Plus, you're a Scorpio, so you're double hidden. You know what I'm saying? So that's very important. Um, yeah, that's very 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 thing that I've noticed. Um, Another thing about them is that they like to they like to just observe people and see, and like, just in their mind they like to be in their own world too. They like to observe people and see what type of person they are, and they like to put them in different categories on, okay, what emotion am I going to show this person, what emotion am I going to show this person. But at the same time, they're not superficial. A lot of Scorpios are not superficial because they don't have time for that. Like Pisces might be more mutable and might match your energy, but their Scorpios are fixated, so they're not going to show you everything straight away. So they might show you certain parts of themselves, but they're not going to show you their whole self. But they expect you to show yourself, because then they don't feel as vulnerable and feel as weak. You know what I'm saying? That is another thing. What else? Being the eighth house, being death and rebirth. Yeah, like I said, so they need someone that is going to be longevity, someone that's also going to go through that death and rebirth experience with them. So they might test you. They might do certain things to act like they don't care, but you will know if a Scorpio cares about you or not, because they'll usually show certain signs, and they'll do certain things that they don't show other people. Only you would see that part of them. And if a Scorpio shows you a part of them that no one else sees, that's when you know that Scorpio really likes you, because they don't like to expose themselves. It's the eighth house, it's hidden. So that's pretty much it, guys. Yes, Scorpios are more like I said, the guys are a little bit different than the females, but they're still, the same. It's just the way they might do things, they might do it in their own unique way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of good things that a Scorpio can do to allow them to melt that ice if they're by themselves is something that is passionate, that has to do with Mars. It could be music, because remember, they're a water sign and music is all about vibration. So certain music that are very passionate, it could be R&B music, or it could be like hip hop or drill music. Some, because that's that Martian energy. So Scorpios have two sides of them, which is like the emotional side, but also the passionate side, depending on what experience and circumstances they're going through. Um, and so yeah, they love things like that. They also will be good at. I would say they're very artistic too. They're very creative in their own unique way. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to music and art, they might do things more in their own unique way. Um, like for example, I would say like Future. Future is, he's a Scorpio. His music is based on emotion. Sometimes he raps about like his relationships, and sometimes he raps about street stuff, like being in the streets. So that's pretty much a Scorpio right there. They have their, like, I guess I wouldn't say soft side, but more of their emotional state where they're expressing their emotions, and then there's parts where they don't express their emotions at all. It's fixated. So that's what I'm saying. If they show that part of you, you have to value that, because not all Scorpios are like that, and they don't show that to everybody. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the archetypes. I'll dive deeper in based on the deacons later on, but it's pretty much it. It's pretty much it with the Scorpio. So if you want to really get to know a Scorpio, don't try to force everything outside of them. That will make them actually be more reserved, because they're gonna start being suspicious of you. Like, why are you trying to know me straight away like that? But if you're someone that is slow and you allow them to be themselves and you allow them to express themselves, especially if you're in a relationship, give that Scorpio grace, because eventually they will observe that from you and they'll realize, okay, this is someone that I can truly open towards because they're not judgmental. So I can show even my plutonic side, my dark side. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to always put on a mask and be fixated all the time. I can actually be my true self. So yeah, guys, that is Scorpio in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. We'll do Cardinal next. So we'll do Cancer next. You know what I mean? So yeah. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you soon.